As a baseball purist, I love when teams can raise players through their farm system, bring them to the majors, and they can be major contributors to the team for years to come. The Mets have had a really good run of young prospects coming up, but not all have panned out exactly. I want to give you my predictions on Brett Baty, Mark Vientos, and Francisco Alvarez for this upcoming year. I think one is going to step up. I think one is going to take a step back, and I think one is going to step out before the season is over. So let's break it down. First of all, the step up. I cannot believe how little I hear people talking about Francisco Alvarez. It's almost like everyone is expecting him to just be this average catcher who's going to just hit in the 8-hole or the 9-hole and not really have any sort of production. I sincerely believe that Francisco Alvarez will take a major step forward, a step up this year. I think you're going to see the power return. I think that you're going to see him make a lot of adjustments. I really believe from everything that I've read, he has put in a massive amount of work and he is consistently trying to get better. I understand that sometimes he maybe has put a little too much pressure on himself. And the fact is, it is very common for major leaguers to have a great breakout season and then take a step back the next year. But with that, I see nothing but hard work, great work ethic, the continual pursuit of getting better and getting better at a position that is especially difficult at the major league level, that of being a catcher, of having a variety of different pitchers that he's had pitch him. It's not like he's even had a consistent pitching staff over the 3 years. He's caught everybody from Justin Verlander to now this year, Clay Holmes. He's going to have caught a whole bunch of different people, but I believe that he is going to be settled in, ready to go. And I'm super, super excited. And I almost feel like he's kind of become like an afterthought in this Mets lineup. Like, oh, I guess we just throw Alvarez in 8 or 9. When legitimately there could be some lineups, if his power got back on track, there could be some major league lineups where you would have him as, say, a 5-hitter. And so I really, really am looking forward to that. Now, for stepping back, I think it's going to be Mark Vientos. Now, of course, I don't wish that this would happen, but similar to how Alvarez had a breakout season and then took a little step back, I believe the same thing could happen for Vientos here. And my plea to Mets fans is, if it does happen, let's not get all over him and get booing on Vientos right away. You got to remember that this is a league of analytics and stats and tape. And what happens is when you are kind of this new breakout, there's not enough time in the middle of the season for all the analytics, for all the videotape, for all the study, for all the scouts to get caught up. But now there's a full, almost complete season of tape in the books on Mark Vientos. There is not going to be this surprise. Everyone got to see him hit in the playoffs as well as all the tape that was set during the regular season. And I think that you will see pitchers pitching him much more cautiously and much differently than they did previously. And that's just part of the growth process in Major League Baseball. Now, I certainly hope that Vientos does not take a step back. In fact, I hope that Vientos could have a legitimate push for an all-star slot if he could continue where he left off. However, just mentally, I'm prepared for Vientos to take a step backwards simply because there are just going to be so many adjustments that teams are going to make. Now, the good news, too, is there is a lot less pressure on Vientos now that Juan Soto is here and Pete Alonso is back. All of a sudden, there's not this need for Vientos to constantly be that power push. He can simply develop at a pace that is much better. And of all the things that I am thankful for of having Pete Alonso back this year, one of the most important reasons I like it is because players, some of these young guys like Vientos, will have significantly less pressure because all the pressure will be squarely on the shoulders of Soto and Nimmo and Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor. Ooh, it's getting late. All right. Then lastly, stepping out. I hate to say this, but I think there's a very good chance that Brett Baty will not be in the New York Mets on their roster or in their farm system by the end of the season. I feel like there is a very good chance that he is going to be traded. And so as much as I have enjoyed having him here, my best guess is that in one of these deals, I think there are teams that could put Baty right in and slot him in right away. And so I do think that he would be a step up for a lot of teams. And It is unfortunate if this were to be the place, but we simply have too many young outfielders and not enough places for all of them to stay. Now, maybe the Mets will be able to work out some sort of rotation where Baty plays a little bit at third. I know he did take some reps at first base, and so maybe there could be days where either Vientos covers first when Pete hits as a DH, or Baty covers first. Maybe at some point in time, there would be a chance for Baty to take on a few spots at second base, and you could have some sort of rotation. But right now, you have to remember that if you're going to play McNeil primarily as an infielder, and then you have Acuna, and then you have Mauricio, and then you have Baty, and then you have Vientos, and then, of course, Lindor and Pete, that's a lot of people to get at bats on a regular basis. And there's getting a point here where Baty is kind of getting old. He has been a baby Met, but you're coming up on 3 years to his major league debut already. And I know that's kind of hard to believe, but the reality is Baty's at that point in time where he needs to get into a team on a major league roster and start playing there. And if that's not going to be the Mets on a semi-regular basis, I think that it would make the most sense for the Mets to make the trade. I do not see the Mets moving on from Vientos. I think they see Vientos as the third baseman of the future. And I certainly think that we want to have a large dose of Acuna and perhaps Mauricio in second base. Now, again, some of these guys can take a day off and, take on a day at shortstop if Lindor ever wants to take a day off, but we know he doesn't want to take a day off. Pete will occasionally do a DH day, but it's just a limited number of spots. So those are my guesses. Tell me what you think of those three: Baty, Vientos, Mauricio. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you again soon.